HIV/AIDS prevention, let's welcome our Dr. Robert Keaton.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Great. Hello. So who asked the question yesterday? All right. Okay. Repeat your question one more time.
How do we address or respond to the problem of our society that having multiple sexual partners through the results of HIV/AIDS, that they are saying that you can just use condoms or other contraceptives to still have sex even you have still not babies?
Good question. Thank you. This presentation is called the ABC of HIV/AIDS prevention. The reason people use condoms or advocate condoms is because they see no other solution. I mean, we have to recognize, first of all, their intention is good. They want to solve the problem. But they can't, and they don't see any other solution. So the only other solution is right here. Honestly speaking, even religions have not been able to protect that. Whatever religious culture, whether it's Christianity in Western Europe, America, Philippines, or Islam, or Hinduism or Buddhism. When I talked to Kamon, the national leader of Thailand, he said Buddhism has no hope to solve this problem. So this is really a very important answer. It takes a little bit of time, and you can make it shorter, but what we need to do is to bring the decision makers, the educators, to a program where we can teach them in depth. We had an ALC program in Bangkok two times ago. It was in January. They had a number of congressmen from the Philippines. I think 5 of them came. And when I gave this presentation, they immediately came to me afterward. Can you come to the Philippines and teach our Minister of Education this lecture? And I said, yes, I can. But now I can give it to you, and you can teach. Originally, this was Universal Peace Federation, but now it's, of course, the Youth and Students Association. But the very simple understanding, first we have to understand the dual nature of the problem, and then we must find a successful model and try and make it better. That's a very good strategy. The dual nature of the problem. HIV/AIDS is both a medical and a moral concern. It's not just medical. It is medical, but because the transmission of the disease, can I turn the volume on this? Because the disease is transmitted through sexuality, then it is also a moral problem. Which is more important? First and foremost, it is a moral problem. Because if the morals are clear and strong, then we can solve the problem of AIDS, because it's a transmission problem. Father said it's easier to solve HIV/AIDS than the common cold. If we have Father's teaching, then we can do that. So how do we do that? And what doesn't work? What works? And let's find how to make it better. What does not work? I'll take my country, America, the first. And in the United States, of course, we started the sexual revolution. And when we took sex outside of marriage, and no one really opposed, in the 1960s, they decided, marriage is somehow restricting sexuality. And if marriage is outside of, or sex is outside of marriage, then it's free. Of course, this is not correct. Because once you remove the barriers, then instead of freedom, you actually create anarchy. And my wife gave an example one time. My wife was a daycare provider, and we had a home, in our own home. And when we first got the home, we did not have a fence in the backyard. And so my wife was very worried about the children, you know. They may run into the street, or where are they going to go? So she was very much anxious all the time when the children were there. And then finally we put a fence in the backyard, and then she realized, wow, now I'm free. The children can just play any way they want to. So the fence didn't restrict the children. It gave them the freedom to play, and it gave her the comfort of mind knowing that they would be safe. So when we look at HIV/AIDS, in America, in the 1960s, they decided to pay sex outside of marriage, socially. And what happened was the disease rates started to rise, and the pregnancy started to rise. No surprise there. And they had a solution. Well, sex education. Let's teach children about sex so that they can control their sexuality and the diseases and the pregnancies. That didn't work. So then they decided, well, what the kids really need is condoms. And before the sexual revolution, only married couples could buy condoms at a pharmacy. If you were young and you were not married, you could not buy them. They wouldn't sell them to you. But then there was a legal battle. It went to the Supreme Court, and they said, let's legalize condoms. Everyone can have a condom. Anyone. Just go and buy it. That didn't work so well, and kids were still getting pregnant. So they decided to legalize abortion also. This was the strategy that they tried to use in America. And what happened is it didn't work. So now they took condom distribution in public schools in America. Not all, but many. And when I went to the U.S. Embassy in Kathmandu to use the bathroom, then there's a library there, lots of people coming, and there are condoms. Just go and take them. They're free. They're in the bathrooms now, even in American Embassy. So because this model didn't work, then they decided more sex education at younger ages. They initially started this strategy at the high school age. And then the problem got worse, so they said, well, the reason is because we didn't catch them early enough. And they took this whole model, sex education, condoms, and legalized abortion, into the junior high schools. Oh, we didn't catch them early enough. And now, these programs are even being taught in some elementary schools, like 6th grade. So the success rate of this model is very clear. From the 1950s until the 1990s, there was a 300% increase in out-of-wedlock pregnancy girls 15 to 19. So if sex education, condoms, and abortions were working, and this rate should go down, not up. That's what everybody's hoping for. It didn't work. And when you look at one sexual disease, gonorrhea, there was a 360% increase in gonorrhea in children 10 to 14 years old in the United States of America. So did it work? No. And so sociologists that are studying this, they're trying to influence policy-making decisions. Dr. Garrett wrote to Congress, presented to Congress, why Congress should reject the failed sex education agenda in the AUKUS bill. He said, the greater availability of contraception and abortion during the past 25 years did not prevent an increase in teen pregnancies and births for sexually transmitted diseases. So the people that are studying this are saying it's not working. And they're trying to get the policymakers, the lawmakers, to change the policy. But it's a political debate because no one's very clear. When Mother launched the IAPP, the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, now we are educating parliamentarians. This is really, really a great hope for your nation, and really for nations that have this education. So that didn't work. Let's look at another nation, Thailand, an Asian nation. And in Thailand, what happened in the same period of time, 5-year, 6-year period here, they started distributing condoms. And these are how many they distributed in 1991, then 1993, then 1995. So as they increased more condom distribution, then suddenly the rate of HIV/AIDS fell. This here is proof. We have proof now that condoms actually reduce HIV/AIDS rate. The Thailand model. And so Thailand became kind of the flagship of condom distribution, and everybody said, Thailand has proved that condoms somehow reduce HIV/AIDS rate. Sociologists looked a little bit deeper. And there were two factors happening at the same time. One, they're distributing condoms, and the other is they're advertising. And they want people to wear condoms, so they advertise. Why do you wear a condom? Because this HIV/AIDS is deadly, it's dangerous. And so they had a huge national campaign, an educational campaign. And they had a jingle. You know, the jingle means like a song, so that people could catch it and get the message. And it was put to jingle bells. Bum, 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 right? That's what they changed the words. Wear a condom, wear it all the time. Like that, you know, just so they're trying to get people to wear condoms. But as they did, and sociologists are saying that if you look at this line, which shows the reduction in men visiting prostitutes. So yes, they increased the condoms and they had very strong education, but the education was a fear factor. If you get the disease, you will die. There was no cure at all. There still is no cure. There is a prevention program that can delay the onset. And sociologists are saying this factor, this education, and through that, the lowering of the number of men visiting the prostitutes. This is probably the primary factor in reducing HIV/AIDS in Thailand, not condoms alone, but this fear factor. In fact, the fear of catching HIV/AIDS reduced the number of men visiting brothels and brought about a national advertising, which was brought about by a national advertising campaign, in other words, education. The senator who designed the program, he's a Thai senator, Vichai Vijayvargiya. He said in a publication, very interesting, he's the one that got the money, I think it's $30 million from the government, to promote and advertise condoms. And then everybody's hailing, Thailand, 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 Thailand. And then finally he said, well, it's not working. It is time to wake up. AIDS has returned to the shores of Thailand. Whatever decrease they had was wiped out. AIDS has returned to the shores of Thailand. The champion, the condom model, has been knocked out. It didn't work. I am going to let the world know that Thailand is no longer a model for HIV/AIDS prevention. This is the man that designed the program. It didn't work. It didn't work in America. It didn't work in Thailand. Let's look at Africa. And in Africa, there was a big institution to try and, get condoms